Hi guys, so if you've been watching my YouTube channel, you know that my channel is about diagnostic, repair and modification of all kinds of products, including ATVs, scooters, mobility scooters, and even personal vehicles sometimes if I have time. I rarely do any kind of assembly unless it's that particular factory did not provide clear enough owner's manual, and assembly required to be seen better than to read, like in this case. So this is a Rosso ATV, 36 volts, 1000 watt, and this is their latest model, which called E-bully. And yeah, I already removed the crate, as you can see, so I'm not going to waste time on that. This is pretty obvious, and that's what you're going to have and what you're going to start it from. Now, the tools that you will require to assemble this ATV: 10mm socket, 12mm socket, 19mm socket, 21mm socket, wrench number 13, number 12mm, I mean, Allen key 6mm, Allen key 5mm, ratchet 3/8, whatever is your socket, 3/8 or 1/2-inch drive, big heavy duty screwdriver, preferably flat, small hammer, and pliers, this type of pliers, like a channel lock will do too. Now, when it comes to hardware, it's supposed to come with a plastic bag, and you're gonna have all kinds of bolts, and you don't know where to put them, so I'm gonna show you one by one basically where to put them. Wheels, I'll do it as we assemble the ATV. This is the rear bar, like a grab handle from the behind of your ATV, and this is what we're going to start from. So as you can see, you have 4 holes, and you need to look for 4 short bolts and nuts for those 4 holes. So those short bolts will be either green color or silver color, does not matter. Just look for 4 bolts with 4 nuts. Okay, let's go and try to put this handle first, because it's going to be pretty useful for you to grab this handle, and you can also grab it from here, but I'll show you why this one is more beneficial if you install it first. So 4 bolts going to those 4 nuts, holes, I mean. Now, my ATV came with a slight damages from the shipping, so there is lots of scratches all over. I mean, it's not that critical because kids going to make those scratches anyway, but this is partially factory fault because they did not pack it that well, plus it's been reloading so often, then they reloaded between the warehouses that, you know, the UPS or FedEx, whoever is going to do delivery, they don't care, they just drop the box. So I'm going to use my impact tool to make everything tight and faster, so this video will not be longer than I want to. Okay. This one is 12. Okay. Okay. Now we have 2 handles to grab. Now, next step, I'm going to remove the seat, and there is a latch from underneath, so open up the seat. And now you're going to look for this shock absorber, which is, there is no bolt. So if you try to lift up your ATV, look what's going to happen now. You see? And if you grab it too hard, you might damage this electronic relay right here. So, plus those wires underneath the brake cable, it's going to be very stretched, and you might even break it. So that's why you need to secure that shock absorber first. Now, sometimes those shock absorbers, they are not as straight as this one. They can be even turn to the right or to the left, just like this. And you think, well, there is something wrong. You think that maybe this is a welding issue or something, but no, just take a pair of pliers, like big one, and make it straight. So lift up with your one hand, and with your other hand just twist this piece so it's going to be straight and it's going to go inside of this bracket. Now the next step, you're going to look for a bolt that goes there. There is a 4 long bolts that you're going to see. One of them would be the longest one, maybe all of them going to be the same in your case, but one of them would be the longest with those thick washers. That's for the steering handle. You need to look for the next bolt without any washers, just a nut. This is the one that you're going to use for that shock absorber. So let's go. So I'm lifting up with one hand, and I'm going to align it so the hole is going to be matching until, and I wiggle until I put this bolt through. So sometimes you have to wiggle like this until you align that. In my case it was pretty straightforward, and this one is a 12, and I also need a 10mm wrench, which I didn't take with me, but I'm going to hold it with pliers. So okay, those nuts are locking nuts and they will not get loose over the time, so nothing to worry about. Just make it tight. There is no special torque or anything like that. This is just a ride-on toy. Just make it tight, that it's not going to get loose while your kid is driving. Okay, well, we are done here. Now the next step, I'm going to secure the steering handle. So I'm going to twist around, and you can see there is a hole going through. So I'm going to insert right here. Okay, and that's where I'm going to use this bolt with those thick washers. And those washers, they have a special, as you can see, like a half moon made for the steering pipe, steering shaft. And this is what I'm going to insert right here, and just turn this washer into the position that is going to be flush with the shape of a pipe, with that shaft. And I'm going to secure it. Okay. Okay. Now, next step is to lift up your bike and put on some kind of jack stand, but in my case I'm going to use a regular bucket, plastic bucket like this, and because most of the people have it at home, and this one will work fine in my case. So now I'm going to grab it with one hand here, and with my other hand maybe even right here. The ATV is not that heavy, and I'm going to lift it up. Okay, now it's sitting pretty firmly. Everything is accessible. Now, next step, between all of your hardware bolts, you're going to see there is two pieces like this. My box was my ATV box came damaged, and I had only one of those key, and you need two of them. So I went to a local Ace hardware store and I bought it for $1.49. So just keep in mind, there's nothing unique about this keyed piece. Now you look for the spot on the axle where this key is going to be inserted. So you need to twist the axle, so turn by the sprocket until you see this spot right here. Okay, and that's where you need to where it's going to go, because it's made for that exact shape, and that's why you need this hammer now. Just like here, like this. Now loosen your nut. By the way, this nut is a 21mm, that's where you need that socket. And that's where you're going to put this rear wheel. So as you can see, there is a special shape for that key, so it will not spin around. It's going to grab against that. Now look for the directional tire, because this one is for the left side and the arrow is facing that way. If you will try to put on this side, the arrow will be facing backwards. So it's not that really important for the traction, because this is not real four-wheel drive, but this is more for cosmetical look. But maybe it will prevent from shaving off your tires too fast. So now I'm going to put the wheel and align this piece with this key, and that's it. Now you see it's tight, sitting how it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to insert this, thread this locking nut, which is a 21mm, and make it tight. Okay, we're good here. Now I'm going to do exactly the same on this side. I'm going to turn axle, look for that spot, and put another wheel, align it with this key. So this is a wash spacer that stays here. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay, and I'm doing the same, just retightening the nut from the other side. Okay, well, we're already on the back, almost ready. So let's go on the front now. Now the front end is going to be, I'm going to remove this wrapping, bubble wrap. Now the front shock absorbers are not attached, as you can see. So you need to put 2 more bolts for those shock absorbers, 1 on each end. Okay. So I'm getting those bolts. Those are the 2 more left bolts that you're going to have in your hardware bag. And so you need just to move this arm up and down to the best position so you can align those bolts. Just like this. It went really easy. In some cases there is not enough room over here to work and to do any wiggling, so you can always remove bottom bolt, then secure the top one, and then wiggle the bottom one. Let me show you on the other side what I mean. For example, this is a pretty tight space and you don't want to remove any of those plastic bumpers and stuff like that, and you're trying to push down but it's not going, so you can always remove bottom bolt and now secure the top one, align it the way you need it. Okay, put bolt facing forward. Why I swapped this bolt facing that way? Because this wire was very close, this ignition wire. So okay, now if I ever need to align it here, I just use a screwdriver to pry it down to any position that I need until I see clearly hole to insert this bolt without any difficulties. Okay, here's my nut. Okay, well, bolts are almost done. I just need to make sure that they are tight, so I don't have to come back. Okay. Yeah, nothing. Just make it tight by hand. Nothing crazy that you don't damage the thread. And let's do another side. Okay. Now when it comes to a front axle brake calipers, you install them at the very last minute after you installed your wheels. Okay, I'm talking about those calipers right here. So don't install it right now. This is the very last part that you're going to install it. Now, sometimes the brake caliper might be going through this hole, like here. You have to pull it out and make it free, so it's going to go over this A-arm, over to the front, because this is how you're going to install it later on. So this cable must be freely like this, without touching any components. Okay, now next, so put this one in the front. Next is connecting tie rod. So and that's where you're going to use a Allen wrench. Okay, here I have my 7, this is not 7 actually, 6mm Allen wrench, and I'm going to make it tight. Now this joint right here can be lubricated later on, every time you're going to lubricate your chain, because this is a part of a periodic maintenance that required by each consumer. So to make everything smooth and working for a long time, just spray it with W40 here and spray it right here from the inside of the inner tie rod. Okay, let's do the same on the other side. So remember to put this brake caliper on the front, like this. Okay. And this is a 13mm wrench that you will be using, or socket that you will be using from the bottom. Okay, we are done here. Now next step is attaching front wheels. So if your rear or front wheels came with the plastic removed from the rim, don't worry, there is a lip all around, and you just put inside, and this plastic is pretty flexible and it's going to clip there. Now the front wheels, same as the rear wheels, they are directional wheels, so look for the arrow or look for the thread pattern. So this is my left side. Okay, removing this 19mm nut and washer, and installing front wheel. Now we put washer, 19mm nut, and make it tight by hand or with a this small impact wrench. Okay, good. Now let's do the same on the other side, so we can be done with brakes. We can be done with wheels, I mean, not brakes. Brakes will be the next. Okay, so installing wheel, and oops, something is not going, and this is good example what you need to do if your wheel is not going, something is preventing to go. So if you look inside, you will see there is a spacer, like a tube, that is actually on the middle. So what you need to do, you need to insert a screwdriver or this Allen wrench and move it from both sides. Move it until it's clear and you can see it through, and then your axle, you can insert into your axle, install it. There you go. Okay. Okay. So remember to install wheels that your inflating valves will be facing out, because there is a possibility that you can put inside. Well, if you're not following the arrow, then your inflating valve will be inside. Okay, we're all done here. Next is installing brake calipers. You're going to find the smallest Allen head bolts, short like this. You're gonna find four of them. Maybe in your case it's going to be with this type of a head. It does not really matter. So let's go on the other side. It's going to be more convenient to show you. So this is your brake pads inside, and you have to install it through that disc, brake disc, just like this, as you can see. And now installing bolts from the inside. Turn the steering wheel to the right or to the left so you can have the best access. And if you have two, oh, this is 12. That was a wrong socket, I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, now try if your wheel is going to spin freely, just like this. Little shattering is normal, but it's supposed to, once you spin it, it's supposed to turn like at least 2-3 times. So that's good. Okay, leave the cable like this so it will not be touching any component, and there's a zip tie from the inside that holding that to the A-arm. Okay, let's do same on this side. So installing brake discs through the slot, and two bolts with either Allen head or 10mm. My box was fairly damaged, and looks like UPS lost some of my hardware, so I had to look in my garage if I have small bolts like this. So that's how I came up with a different shape of a head, not Allen head. So sometimes it's easy to start with the bottom, just like I'm doing right now, and then play with the top one, because you will see more where it needs to be. Okay, and now the top one. I'm going to do a special separate video about how to adjust brakes. Like this one is not spinning as freely as another one. This one is fairly easy adjustment. If you twist this top knob, you will see that it's spinning much freely. Really easy adjustment, but more detailed adjustment I already have on my channel, and all of the small kids ATVs, they have exactly the same setup. I might be making a separate video about this particular model, but right now everything is normal. Just if you ever need to do adjustment, those two nuts that you can do by hand, as long as your wheel is spinning freely. Okay, we're done here. Okay, well, leave your ATV on the bucket, because you will be doing some basic tests. What I mean by that, your ATV will come unhooked, most likely. The power will be unhooked, like this, two black plugs, and this is your main power right here. But you will have two more black plugs, and you will say, well, which one I'm going to plug it in? They all look the same. All four of them, as you can see, the same. So it's pretty easy. So look at the controller box. This is your main brain of the machine, and follow the wire. So this is your input wire plug so you need to power the brain of the ATV, and you need to look for the power that's coming out from the battery pack. And because there is a bundle of wires pretty tight, look for the bundle with two plugs. Two plugs with fuses, as you can see. Fuse number 1, fuse number 2, and there is a male plug coming out, and there is another 3-pin plug coming from that from this protective loom. So basically 4 plugs, 1, 2, 3 and 4, but those were not just the plugs, not the plugs, but just the fuse, I mean. So that's where you're going to click male to female, from this bundle to here. Okay, now obviously we have 2 leftover big plugs, and those are going to be plugged into each other, which is they are going directly into the gear shift switch. Now once you plug it in, you're supposed to turn on the ignition, and you're supposed to see that the power is on the steering handle. If you don't see this power after you click the ignition, either check if fuses are installed. So you can open it up, just this is like a cap. Look if the fuse is installed all the way. You can see a little spark. This is normal because the power is getting to the controller, to the computer. So look if the fuse is okay, and there is a spare one on the back they provided. Now another reason why it's not on, because this little switch, red switch, is on off position. So make sure that this is on, and that's when you're going to see that you have power. Now next, you put your machine on the drive, which is forward right here. This is reverse, this is neutral. So forward, and try to twist the handle. So that's why you leave your ATV off the ground, because you're going to test it if everything is connected right now. So let's see. In my case, it's all working perfectly. Okay, now what if your ATV is powering on but not responding on the throttle? Make sure that it's on the drive, as I said, and make sure that you don't see rear stop light on, like right now. Right now you see that it's only night light. If I press the brake light, watch, it's much brighter, as you can see. So if you see such a bright light, that means that your brake handle switch is activated. So follow here. So make sure that the brake lever is going back all the way, and it's actually not triggering this sensor right here, because inside of the handle there is a brake sensor, and if this little locking nut is loose, this sensor is going to wobble like this. Maybe you want to go from the inside and take a look. This is a blue sensor that you see right here. So So this sensor must be secured properly in order for the power not to be interrupted, and in order to the rear stop light to be off, to be turned off until your kid will press brake handle. So this is, for example, I'm going to twist the handle right now, and see, I am twisting with my one hand, but with my other finger I am trying to apply brakes. And that switch that I was showing you that was loose, that switch is actually disconnected the power. So every time your kid is going to press brake handle, even before the brake cables are going to apply some force to the brake calipers, the electronic switch will cut off power automatically. So make sure that you don't see rear stop light on, because that would be your first reason why it's not moving. Now next would be maybe one of the other plugs is unplugged. So look for the wire, look for this wire with two plugs. It's going directly into the accelerator handle. So if I'm going to unplug this white plug, it's still going to go, but if I will unplug the red one, it's going on a higher speed. So make sure that the red one is plugged in, white one is plugged in. And actually I was wrong because they look the same to me, but I should know better by now. This is only responsible for the speed. Those wires, those two plugs, one plug was a single wire and one plug was a 3 wires. Those are the ones that are responsible for the throttle handle not to be powered on or not to be powered. So for example, I'm going to unplug it and there is no more light and the ATV is not responding. So make sure that this plug, female plug with a red, blue and a green wire, is plugged into the male plug with a red, black and the green wire. And that's where you're going to see that it's working now. Now, what if this single wire is disconnected? Well, this single wire is responsible, this yellow one, responsible only for the light, how much energy you have. So even if this green plug is disconnected with a single wire, your machine is still going to run. But you will not know how much power you have, and you will not know if your ATV is on or off. So I'm going to plug it in back. Now here's a little information about this red plug right here. I'm sorry where it is, right here. So there is a one plug that will be with a black wire kind of sitting right here, not connected to anything. So what does it do? If you will unplug this speed switch, I purposely marked it for myself with S, that I know this is a S, speed switch. Okay, so if I'll unplug it, I'll have the highest speed right now, the highest mode, because there is a 3 speeds, low, high and medium. So doesn't matter the position now, because I unplugged this red plug and now the ATV will run the highest speed. But if you will use this plug with a loop wire, black loop wire, basically it's just like a holding wire, holding that you don't lose this plug right here. And if you will connect this open plug to this 3-pin male plug, you're gonna have the slowest speed. And the speed switch will no longer work. What this made for? So the factory made this special plug for you in case if you leave this original plug in 3 wire and 3 wire, you can switch between the speeds. So maybe it's going to be too fast for your kid and he will be switching on his own. So instead of him doing that, because you got no control over the speed, that's why factory left you this plug right here. So you unplug this red 3-pin plug, green, red and the black, as you can see right here, you unplug it and you plug in this empty plug. Basically it's going to be only one speed, and the position of the speed does not matter anymore. So this is for you to control the speed for your kid, so he does not switch it to the higher speed, because this is pretty dangerous, 1000 watt. So I'm going to unplug my speed limiter or governor and plug in as normal. Okay, now let's go for the rest of the plugs, so you see how all of them are going to be plugged in. And just in case if your ATV came with some of the unplugged plugs. Now you have another red wire, a red plug with the two wires, orange and red, and on the other hand it's going to be just a single blue. So that's how it's going to be. Now you know where it's plugged in. Now the next plug is going to be this female plug, green and red. It's going to be connected to a blue and red, blue with the red stripe. This is the next plug. Now there is a yellow plug with a white wire. It's supposed to be connected to the green wire. There is a blue plug. It's not connected anywhere, so leave it the way it is. Now you know already what's this all about. It's just sitting here waiting. This is your speed governor for this red plug. And next is going to be a 3-pin plug that coming from the same wiring as your battery wire. And this one 3-pin is red, black and green, and on this side is also red, black and green. Okay, well basically there's no more plugs unless I missed something. I believe that I did all of them already. Now this one is the pretty unique shape plug, so this is the only one that can fit here. There's no other ones like that. My idea was to show you where small plugs, because there's many of them, many of the small plugs, the same shape, that's just a different color. My idea was to show you where all of them supposed to be connected. So, but they also go by the color and color, green to green, male to female. This one is going male to female, white to white, 3-pin plug, as long as you see that the same color code wires, which is not always matching, but so green and green, blue and black, red and the red. This is only for the throttle. So you know this is your throttle handle because it has a single yellow wire, and this yellow wire is your basically power. This is it. We all done. This plug is right here for the rear voltage converter, because this is pretty unique ATV. It comes with a voltage converter, so all of your lights are working with a step down converter from 36. And there is a last plug right here which is responsible for the rear tail light. Yeah, for the rear tail light. Well, this is a pretty nice setup, maybe a little bit over designed, I would say, for a small kids ATV, but it's supposed to work as you know, as any other ATV, and maybe even more reliable, because I see that the wiring harness is really good. Now probably I missed 2 more plugs, guys, so I'm coming back. You have 2 more black plugs, one bigger plug with a black and the red wire, and on the other side is also black and the red wire, and one more plug is red, black and blue, and on the other side red, black and purple. This one also pretty unique, and this one going for the alarm, if I am not mistaken. Now, how to operate your remote fob. This one is different than other Rosso ATV, so I have to show you how it works. So if you started your ATV with the manual key and you want to stop it remotely, you have to press lock button. Let me show you how this works. So remember that there will be no noise, there is no speaker. It's going to work silently and it's going to just cut off the power. So let's twist the handle and press lock button. I'm holding the handle right now. Okay, it was supposed to work, and I'm not sure why it's not going right now. Maybe one of the plugs is loose. So it's not turn it off, it's supposed to activate by pushing lock button and supposed to cut off the power. So I see that I did not click my plug properly when I've been showing you, and as I've been showing you, this one is responsible for your remote fob. So make sure that it's clicked all the way, try to wiggle it if it's not loose, and now let's try. So I'm pressing, twisting the handle and pressing lock button once. As you can see, I'm still holding and I press the lock button. Now to unlock it or give the power to your machine, go ahead to your kit. Your kit's supposed to release the handle, then you press unlock, and then it's going to be active again. So lock once and it's cutting off the power. Now release the throttle, press unlock, and it's active again. That's how it works. There is no remote start, it's only kill switch on this particular model, so be aware of that. Those lights that you see, basically they are just dummy lights. They are not connected, there is no bulbs, so don't expect to be for them to be illuminating every time you switch in the gear shift, because they put already a sticker, and I guess maybe they finally figured it out that it's a little bit overcomplicated machine with so many wiring and you know, electronic components like this relay and stuff. Now next, what I wanted to mention, this tether switch. If this tether switch is off, your lights will be off. Okay, so make sure that this is on. So you can actually connect this to your kit wrist, just like a skidoo, and with some kind of bracelet or rubber band, and if something goes wrong, he's going to pull out and the machine will stop. So this one must be on. And also this red switch, so don't forget about this red switch. If it's on position, your throttle handle will not work. Now what if what else I was going to mention? I already covered the brakes. Make sure that those locking nuts are tight on the brake sensors, because they are on each side of the machine on the brake handle. So you can even apply one drop of a Loctite in case they're going to get loose again, because they made of plastic. As I said before, I'm going to do more detailed diagnostic videos on each particular issue. Like for example, if your relay is not working, how to test that relay. If your voltage regulator is not working, that's why you don't have any lights. I'm going to do later on some videos. But now, what if this piece got broken? You accidentally broke that piece and then you don't know how to override it. So go to your wiring harness and look for this wire. This wire with a green and red, and on the other side is going to be red with a blue, with a blue stripe, a blue with a red stripe, I'm sorry. So if you unplug this plug, green, red, red, blue with red stripe, if you will unplug it, now it doesn't matter the switch, if it's on or off, your light, your handle will be on. So you can override this. You never know, your kit might lose this piece. Obviously you can duct tape it. You need to push that inner button right there, and that's why you see this knob inside. So if you put some kind of little nut and wrap it around with a duct tape, it's going to be on all the time. But in case you broke complete assembly and you don't know how to override it, so just unplug this plug, and now it doesn't matter, look. And now as soon as I plug it in, light is off until I plug it back. And the last probably that I wanted to mention about the electrical. When it comes to a charging, this is the charger that I have. Your charger might come in different shape, it does not matter, as long as you look on the back of the charger and see how many volts it's producing. It's supposed to say 36 volts. That's all it matters. The shape does not matter. Now, plug in your charger. Make sure that it's lighting up with a green light right away. It's a standby mode. Now, and this is your charging port right here. Remember, this particular ATV, once you plug it in, you will see a red light on the charger. That means that your charger detecting your batteries and the charging process started. Okay, after you unplug it, it's going to be green, standby mode. You plug it in, it's red. So you must see red light first before it's going to switch to the fully charged green light again. It's going to take a couple hours. Now remember one of the very important things. Unfortunately, if your kid will try to drive this ATV with the charger unplugged, unfortunately the power will not be cut off, so he can drive anytime he wants to. Watch, even though the charger is plugged in and it's currently charging, I'm twisting the handle, so it's very, let's say, dangerous, because he can rip this charging port and you'll be buying a new either charger or the charging port right here. So make sure that you remove the key when you're charging, so your kid will not drive off accidentally. Now, the last that I wanted to mention about the mechanical. As you can see, my chain is pretty loose. It's okay for a little bit, but I would rather tell you to adjust it right now, make it tight, because it might fall off. The chain is pretty strong, but looks like it was not finished properly at the factory. So let me show you how to adjust it. Okay guys, so in order to make this chain tight, this is what you will need to do. This is a kind of a complicated procedure, and I rather do a separate video. But if you're going to receive a brand new ATV and the chain is going to be loose like this, you have to do it right now. Otherwise the chain will fall off or might even damage the teeth on this sprocket. So let's do it. Another 5 minutes or so. You have to make those bolts loose. Number 1, number 2, and 2 in the front. Once you get them loose, your motor will be loose like this. So don't remove bolts and don't remove nuts, just make it loose, so the motor will be loose. Okay, now next step, in this case you have to remove your wheels again. Unfortunately, it's going to be much easier for you. Don't forget about this piece so you don't lose it. So you need to remove wheels, because that is the design of this particular. Why? Because you will have better access to those nuts right here. So you have to make them loose, those 2 nuts on each side. Okay, and let's do the same here. Okay, now you need to get loose this bolt right here and one on the bottom, 10 millimeter. Okay, loose, loose. Nuts are welded, so you don't have to hold it from the inside. Don't worry about that, as long as you can make those bolts loose. Only now you are ready to use your 12 millimeter wrench and tighten those adjusters on each side. So half turn on one side, half turn on the other side, and then watch if your chain is getting tight. Sometimes you need to lose more this inner nut, give more room for the adjuster, just like this, and then you can this is like a locking nut from the inside. Okay, and now retight those nuts. So half turn here and half turn here, half turn here and half turn here, half turn here, and half turn here. So it's going to be equal on both sides. Now look at the chain, if it needs more or not adjustment. In my case it does, so I'm going to get loose this knot more from the inside. Yeah, that's why this I never do assembly, because usually it's pretty straightforward, but some factories they have their own setup and procedure for this, so you have to know what to do, because the half, and now look at the chain, it's less floppy, so some more. Okay, a little bit more I'm going to lose on this side. The goal is that you don't do it equally on both sides, so half turn here, half turn here, and now the chain, so a little bit more. By the way, this is one of the strongest chains on this particular model, a small kids ATV that I've seen. Usually the chain is much thinner than this. This one is good, I like it. So half turn and half turn. Looking at the chain, and it's almost tight. Once we retie those 4 bolts, it's going to be tight enough, I'm pretty sure. But we can make another half turn and half turn. Right now it's good. You're supposed to have no more than ½ inch slack when you push it down with your finger. This is how you know that it's tight enough or not. Now I'm going to tighten those 4 bolts right here, on both sides. Okay, and now I can retighten this locking nut, so the chain adjuster, so I am retightening it clockwise. If you look from the inside, it's going to be clockwise against that red plate, so the chain adjuster will be tight. Now as you can see, my chain is pretty tight. Once I'm going to retie those 4 bolts, it's going to be perfect. I'm retightening this locking nut from here clockwise. This locking nut is to prevent this chain adjuster to get loose. And the last would be I am retightening 4 bolts that hold in motor. That's it. Now look at my chain. Now it's tight, and it's going to get loose over time. The chain is going to get stretched, but it will take another 6 months to 1 year, I would say. Don't forget to lubricate it periodically. Now put everything back in place. Don't forget about those locking keys, and you are good to go. If your ATV came with not adjusted chain, you must do it now, otherwise you're going to damage the drive system. And I'm talking about the sprocket and this little sprocket on the motor right here. You're going to damage all of that, so it must be tight, not over tight, because it might get damaged also if you over tight that chain. But yeah, okay, and put everything back in place. Now the last that I wanted to mention is those 4 rubber caps that came. That's for your front wheels. Rear wheels are not really, I don't see in my On my ATV it never came with those washers, but usually if any of the gas powered ATV or electric powered ATV come with those caps, they're supposed to provide those washers, but I'm assuming that my UPS guy lost them. So when I went to Ace Hardware store to buy this key for $1.49 because one of them was lost, I bought those 2 washers. So I took this cap with me and I measured to this cap if it fits or not. So I'm going to install it. On the front wheels you don't need any washers because that rim is okay. Now I'm going to just stretch, put that rubber boot over that washer. It's going to be, maybe it's better to do it on the ground because my ATV is moving, but just like this, and it's going to stay there forever. This is just a cosmetical, it doesn't have to be there. On the front wheels the rims are made like that, so there's a lip already and you don't need any washers, so just install it over. Those rubber caps are pretty soft, silicone, and it's going to stay there. Now attaching the seat, make sure that all of those wires are not touching this front bracket, so go underneath of this, so move them so you don't damage any of the plugs with this bracket. So make sure they all down, push them down, and look underneath if the latch is clicked under this bar. Now you will see a long black wire here and you will think that something is not connected, but this is actual antenna for your remote fob. So for better reception, leave it as much as possible to stick out. It's going to give you farther range. Now if it's not that often that I see, but in case your front wheels are not aligned, your steering wheel is sitting straight but the wheels are not facing, you know, one of them facing outwards or inwards. Let me show you really quick how to adjust the wheels. You need 12 and 13 millimeter wrench, 12 for the middle and 13 for this locking nut right here. Remember there is a left hand thread, so to loosen you have to turn to the left on the right side of the ATV. Same on this one. And then you twist this, look at the wheel. So I'm twisting to any position that I need this particular wheel, looking from the little bit farther away from the ATV. Better to put on the ground, so let me put on the ground. As you can see, so steering wheel straight, and if you like that position of the wheel, the way it's facing, not too much inward, not too much outside, you can adjust it anytime later on. This is what you need to do, and do the same on the other side. Again guys, this is a pretty unique video because of the more assembly involved than maybe some other kids toys, but if you decide to buy it, you must, you know, either figure it out on your own, use some common sense, or watch my video. And remember, if any of the hardware is lost, some bolts are missing, anything like that, just take one of those bolts with you to the local Ace Hardware store. They will match it up for 40 cents, 50 cents. Everything is in metric, nothing special. Now it's all about just removing actual stickers. This is a brand new machine, and make everything nice and attractive for your kid. Now the front of the ATV, I better mention that. Now you can stand it like that. That's why you have that rear bar, the handlebar, like a bumper, so you can always, if you work on the suspension, you can always put right here. Now the front of the machine, as you see came with lots of scratches from the shipping, and like this plastic is not sitting, it's taken out and supposed to sit, but that's because the entire plastic bracket is bent. So I'm going to put inside of that slot, and from the inside there is a metal bracket. I'm just going to, with my screwdriver, and I'm going to pry it out just like this. And now all of the plastic is going to sit nice. Now you have two more bolts right here and one bolt left over. One bolt was not left over. I wish that I could show you how to connect the actual front bumper with those three bolts, but mine never came. My box was damaged, and even you can see some scratches and damages on this bracket, so you need to make it straight with pliers and attach your front bumper with those three screws. It's pretty straightforward. So my bumper is missing. I hope that your ATV is not going to come as damaged as mine, but the company will ship me a new bumper. Well, that's it. As long as you're following all of my advice, and don't forget to purchase a safety helmet to your kid, because this is pretty powerful machine. Alright guys, sorry for such a long video, but there was no other way how to do it, I guess. Maybe there was more talking than doing actually the job, but God bless you, and God bless America, and God bless Ukraine. Bye.